Okay, now for this lesson, let's talk about nouns and pronouns. Well, let's see what we got. Let's talk about nouns. Now, what nouns are the actors of the sentence. People, object, animals, and sometimes even an action can be nouns in the sentence, right? So nouns have singular and plural forms, and these are the rules when you have singulars and you want to turn them into plural forms. These are some useful rules. The nouns that end with s, sh, ch, x, or z, the sibilant sounds, you add es. For example, kiss, you say kisses. Wish, the plural is wishes. Watch, the plural is watches. Fox, the plural is foxes. And I really don't have an example with z, but it works the same way. So that's what you do in that case. Also, if you have a noun ending with a consonant and y, like party, the plural is parties, but you change the y and you write ies. If you have a noun ending with f or fe, you change the f or the fe for a ves. For example, wife, you say wives. And if you have a noun ending with o, you change the o for oes, right? And that's what you do. Yeah. So these are the way that you can turn singulars into plurals. But also you have to keep in mind that there are different kind of plurals. For example, in the first column you're going to see nouns that are different in the singular form from the plural form. For example, child, the plural is children. Foot is 1 foot and 2 feet. Also the goose, the plural is geese. Man, the plural is men. A mouse, when you have 2, they're mice. 1 tooth, 2 teeth. 1 woman, 2 women, right? So it's those are different. In the center column you will find some singulars that don't change into plural forms, like deer. It's 1 deer, 2 deer. 1 fish, 2 fish. 1 sheep, 2 sheep. 1 offspring and 2 offspring too. 1 species and 2 species. It's the same. If you don't know what these words mean, you can always go to the dictionary. Now, there are some other plurals that come from other languages. Basically, they come from Latin, and they use the same criteria that you had in Latin. So it's 1 bacterium and a lot of bacteria. Singular cactus, plural cacti. 1 crisis, 2 crises. 1 phenomenon, 2 phenomena. And 1 octopus and 2 octopi, right? That's what you have. when you have singulars and plurals. That can say that is new about nouns. So let's go with the pronouns. The pronouns are used in the sentence to replace the noun, because you don't want to repeat the noun constantly. You can change it and use the pronoun. So there are several groups of pronouns, and I hope this information will help you. There are the personal pronouns, which is I, you, he, she, it, we, you, and they. Basic pronouns, you know them. They come in the singular group, I, you, he, she, it, and they come in the plural group, we, you, and they. And they come in other classification, like first person is I and we, second person is you and plural you, and third person is he, she, it in the singular form, and they in the plural form. And this personal pronouns, they always come before the verb. Always come before the verb. Okay? Say here, let's go with the object pronouns. The object pronouns are different. It's me, you, him, her, it, us, you, and them. They come after the verbs because normally they are the receivers of an action. So according to what I say here, what should you do? I or me? This is, what should you say? Mark and I will go to the museum, or Mark and me will go to the museum? Well, it's easy. You have to look for the verb, which is go, and before the verb you use personal pronouns. So the right answer is Mark and I will go to the museum. Right? Because it's before the verb. Now after the verb, Mark will go to the museum with me. You're after the verb. There you go. They're receivers of the action, like I love her. She loves him. They call us. You see, they are after the verb because normally they are the receivers of the action. And that's where they go. So these are the object pronouns. Another group of pronouns are the reflexive pronouns. They're very similar to the object pronouns. They go after the verbs, but they are reflexive. Reflexive, it comes from reflection, something that goes and returns to you. This reflexive pronouns, they are myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, and the plurals, ourselves, yourselves, and themselves. Do you remember that the F turns into VES in the plural? Well, this is one of the cases. And what are reflexive actions? Reflexive actions are actions that you do and you receive at the same time. For example, I shave myself because I shave, but I receive my shave. So you don't say I shave me, because that is not correct. You say I shave myself because it's a reflexive action. She only thinks about herself. She thinks, but the object of her thoughts is her. So you don't say she only thinks about her. You say she only thinks about herself, because this is a reflexive action. Okay? Now look, sometimes you will find an expression that is by myself, or by yourself, by himself, by herself, any other of the pronouns. If you find by, it means alone, right? I live by myself, it means I live alone. That means I live without company, or I live without help. So this is an adverb. Don't confuse it with the reflexive pronouns, okay? It's something that you will find commonly. Another group of pronouns is the possessive pronouns. Now, the possessive pronouns come in two groups. The adjective pronouns, my, your, his, her, its, our, your, and their, and the adverb pronouns, mine, yours, his, hers, its, ours, yours, and theirs. As you can see, the difference is basically the S when you write them. But what is the difference when you talk about them? Well, basically, you use my when you want to say this is my house, right? You use mine to say this house is mine. Esta es mi casa, esta casa es mía. So basically the difference is my is me, mine is mía, your is tú, and yours is tuya. His is su, and his, the other his or hers, is suya. Okay, so that's what you have to understand. Normally the adjective pronouns my, your, his, her come before the object usually, and mine, yours, his, hers, they usually go at the end of the sentence after the verb, especially the verb to be. And there's another way you can use the adverb pronouns, which is mine, yours, his, hers. It's when you say los míos, las mías in Spanish. Like mine is in the car. If you're talking about a jacket, like where is your jacket? You say mine is in the car. La mía está en el carro. You're talking about the children. So where do your children go? You say mine go to public school. Los míos. So that's another way you can use mine or yours or his, whatever. Let's talk about demonstrative pronouns. Demonstrative, well, they demonstrate, they show. And they come in a singular form, this and that, esta, esa, esto, eso. They come in a plural form, which is these and those, estos, esos, estas, esas. That's what they say. And the only difference between this and that is distance. It could be distance in time or distance in physical distance, right? And well, this is my house is the singular form, and these are my houses in the plural form. They sound very similar. But look, this is my house. These are my houses. As you can see, there is a small difference. Anyway, it's easy to confuse. Remember, singular and plural, those are different. They are demonstrative because you have to show, you have to use your hand or something to show what you're talking about. Let's go with another group. Reciprocal pronouns. Well, you know what reciprocal means. Reciprocal is something that you give and they give you back. That is reciprocal. So the reciprocal pronouns are each other and one to another. Those are the reciprocal pronouns. They both mean el uno al otro in Spanish, so there's no difference. No difference. Some say that each other is more American, one to another is more British. I don't know. I don't believe that. Anyway, you can use either one of them. So instead of saying he loves her and she loves him, which is very complicated, you can say they, he and she of course, they love each other, or they love one to another, which is the same, and that is reciprocal love. Indefinite pronouns. The indefinite pronouns are pronouns that don't give you specific information, hence the name indefinite, right? Are these ones: some, any, not any, no, and every. The best way to understand them is that some means algún, any, cualquier, not any, ningún, no, ningún, every means cada. If you understand them like this, you have 90% of the way. Now you can combine them with other elements like notebook. If you say some notebooks, algunos, cuadernos, right? Any notebook, cualquier cuaderno. Not any notebook, ningún cuaderno. No notebook, ningún cuaderno. Every notebook, cada cuaderno, right? It's a very simple thing. Now, of course, as you can see, not any and no, they mean ningún. They both mean ningún. So there are two ways to say ningún. Don't get confused. It's a very simple thing. They basically are the same thing. If you say not any notebook, it's ningún cuaderno. Or if you say no notebook, ningún cuaderno. The only thing that you have to keep in mind is that not any is used in negative sentences and no is used in affirmative sentence, like I don't like any notebook. I don't like any notebook. As you can see, the not any is in the don't like any notebook. That is where you find the not any. It means no me gusta ningún cuaderno. Or you can say I like no notebook, and it means no me gusta ningún cuaderno. So why is this so weird for us? Because in Spanish we have double negatives. In English we don't use double negatives. That's why it sounds strange, like I like no notebooks. Me gusta ningún cuaderno. That's weird in Spanish. It's because we have two negatives and they use only one. But what you can do is that you can learn and use not any or no, the one that you prefer, the one that you feel more comfortable with. Most of my students, they like to say I don't like any notebook because it is very similar to the Spanish construction, no me gusta ningún cuaderno, right? It's very similar, so they prefer that. I prefer I like notebook because that's the way I learned when I was a kid. So I prefer that one. I think it's simpler. And the other thing is, don't confuse any and not any, because those are two different things, right? Any is cualquier, not any is ningún, so don't confuse them. It's a very simple thing. Not any is always in a negative sentence, so it means ningún. And a final thing here is every. I know you understand every as todos. For example, you say when you say I work every day, and in Spanish you understand yo trabajo todos los días. That's okay, because that is the way we speak in English and that is the way we speak in Spanish. But then it creates confusion because some students end up saying I work every days. Why? Because yo trabajo todos los días, plural. But in English that's not correct. In English you should say I work every day. Now, if you understand that every means cada, you don't make that mistake. You're not going to make it. You say I work every day, cada día. Then you don't make that mistake. And the meaning is the same, right? So, yeah, indefinite pronouns. Okay, so now you have a test. I wish you good luck with your test. I hope that this lesson is going to give you the information that you need and that this serves you well in the future for your English speaking. Yeah. Bye.